Hey there, I want to welcome everybody back to our new movie review, and this one is gonna be the third sequel in RoboCop franchise, and this time it's gonna be our RANT, RoboCop 3, our RANT, or should I say RoboCrap 3, RoboStinker 3. You know, this was terrible, unnecessary sequel in the 90s, and RoboCop 2, people are saying that it's terrible. 3 is worst one. This is the worst sequel I have ever seen. I mean, it's worse the remake, no, but it's definitely the worst one. And it's a terrible sequel. This RoboCop 3, this is a pile of junk. This guy, Fred Decker, gave us this pile of shit, and then he did a screenplay for the Predator 2008, which gave us that joke piece of shit. And he gave us this motherfucker. That's what I was talking about in my movie review yesterday. Because the Predator 2018 was a torture to watch. And this movie is a torture to fucking watch. So Nancy Allen returns and she gets killed in the first hour. They asked her to do this film and she first declined. But then she said, okay, I'll do it if you kill my character. Why she wanted to kill her character off, It fucking sucks, And this time Peter Weller said no, he didn't want to return for the film because he was very disappointed with the sequel, so he did not want to return. And this movie is a PG-13, a family film. This movie has so much problems that I can't even begin to count. RoboCop 3 is a stinker. Oh, they return Basil Politori's score, but it sucked. This movie was piece of shit, pile of shit. It sucked. The first RoboCop was a classic, best action rated hard air film. The second was amazing underrated science fiction action film that stays true to the original film. This movie is abomination. A young girl programs at 209 so that he stays loyal as a puppy. Is this a joke? They made this movie a joke. Fred Decker destroys every good movie nowadays. He destroyed the Predator franchise. Now people are saying the death of the franchise. He killed this franchise. Fred Decker, he completely ruins everything. He's incompetent director. He's terrible. And I know some people like this film. I like this. I don't like this film at all. I only keep it for the collection. I don't watch it. In 6 years, I didn't watch this stinker movie anymore. Ever again. I don't want to see this fucking stinker. This stinker. Fuck this stinker. This is a stinker pile of shit movie. It's rated PG-13, a family film. RoboCop was a rated R. The sequel is the last sequel you're gonna see in action. It's nothing amusement about this fucking film, And I don't want a 209 being a droid, being a loyal as puppy. That's horrible. Wooden, an awful lame stinker in the movie. I don't want that, guys. He's now loyal as a puppy. What the hell? This young girl programs to be a loyal as a puppy. Why she did that? That's just awful. That's terrible. That's so terrible. You have two samurais, and RoboCop gets his ass kicked by one of the samurais. He doesn't do anything. He gets his ass kicked. This movie gets ass kicked. A little girl says RoboCop will do samurais, cyborg, so that they destroy each other with their swords. Awful. In RoboCop 2, he jumped on a monstrous RoboCane's back. He ripped his fucking brains out. He landed on the floor and smashed it to the pole. In this movie, he gets his ass kicked. He stands with a gun and two samurais are kicking his ass. He slashed into his ass floor. He doesn't do jack fuck shit. He doesn't do jack shit. There's no Peter Weller in this movie. I'm glad that he passed this movie to do other projects. Nancy Allen returns, and she is hot in this movie. But by the first hour, she's killed off. Why? What happened? Why did Nancy Allen insist in this movie only to get the character killed off? I don't get it. She kicked so much ass in the first two movies. She didn't do jack shit in this movie, so that she could get a paycheck. What's wrong with her? This movie came out in 1993, Hard Target. That movie came out in 1993 and it's a badass, this movie came out in 1993 and it's a badass. This movie, Hard Target came out this year. It's a badass. It's rated R. This is a badass action film. This movie came out. This movie destroys this stinker movie. This movie destroys this stinker movie. This movie should have learned from this movie. But fuck that, they ruined everything. Why did Frank Miller and Fred Decker make such a terrible script? And Frank Miller, which I respect from Sin City and the RoboCop 2, insisted to do this sequel, insisted to do this garbage. The screenplay is terrible, the dialogues in here are terrible, not memorable, and pretty dull. It was because Orion had financial problems, and in a desperate attempt, they tried to make a family action, PG-13 movie, the movie to get more audiences. Sadly, this movie failed. It failed. It was an abomination. Peter Weller, Daniel Herlihy, and Melina Bauer did not return. None of those for a single return. It makes no sense. The movie doesn't have an adrenaline or rush, excitement or anything. This movie sucks ass. Robert John Burke makes terrible time of RoboCop. He's awful and another stinker cop again. He's not a RoboCop. Robert John Burke is terrible as RoboCop. He's not better than Peter Weller. Peter Weller is the only one that's RoboCop. Kevin Peter Hall is the only Predator for me. Peter Weller is the only RoboCop. It's like the same garbage. Kevin Peter Weller it is a shame that he died. I would really love to see Predator 3 with him, but that never will happen again. Because the actor passed away after he made Predator 2, and I miss so much Kevin Peter Hall. He's so underrated actor. He deserves our respect. Peter Weller deserves respect to play this character that we love, Alex J. Murphy. He deserves more respect than this actor, Robert John Burke, which he failed to do a good job. He didn't. The script was terrible. They tried to make a family movie in which Nancy Allen gets killed for no reason. And RoboCop's suit is awful. I hate that RoboCop has a gun arm. I'm gonna put that screenshot on it, but he has a gun arm and he replaces his awesome gun from the first two movies with a machine gun on his left arm. Wow, fucking stupid. Why RoboCop has a prototype flight pack and he flies after he was ass kicked by a samurai. He has a prototype flight pack and he flies. Yes, RoboCop flies in this fucking movie. After he was ass kicked by a samurai. Gosh, the fact that this movie were horrible, really poor, absolutely terrible. They were poor for this fucking piece of bullshit movie. This movie was better, perfect. This movie was a badass action, kills the motherfuckers to pieces. This movie does nothing. RoboCop flies in the flight jetpack. I hated his jetpack or whatever. I hated his flight pack. I hated his damn flight pack. His prototype flight pack. I hated him. And instead, killing the guy who killed Nancy Allen, he burns his legs, and then the building blows up, and that was it. None of the actors. Jill Harris is this movie, and she's not likable. No one is likable in this movie. It's just the effects for me were poor. That's just my problem. Fred Decker again, really make a terrible, horrible direction. It was terrible. I don't really like it a lot. I don't like this movie, I don't hate it as much like most people hate it, but I don't like it. I don't appreciate, I don't like this film. I dislike very much. I don't hate it, but I don't like it that much. I hated this film. I don't hate it, I don't like it, I don't like this damn fuck movie, And this time they use music from Basil Politoris, in which audience complained about the music in the second movie. They complained about the music in the second movie because it's not such a memorable, because the music is different. I will always watch RoboCop 2 anytime, anywhere than this garbage. This fucking garbage. I would rather watch Aliens than this fucking garbage than Demolition Man. Rambo, first of all, part 2. Rambo 3 is a badass. Rambo 3 is underrated. And this movie, I would say, is underrated, which is much better to me, than RoboCop 3. Rambo 3 is a better sequel, definitely better. John Wick 3 is better sequel. There's so many third sequels that are better. Die Hard The Vengeance, A Love to Death is better sequel than Die Hard 2, in my opinion. And I don't know what the hell happened in this film, because in desperate need, because they had problems. Ryan was in bankruptcy, and they need to do it, and the RoboCop in here is awful. In this movie, RoboCop stinks. You make a lousy sequel to no one wants. I do have this movie on Blu-ray disc, and I'm not going to break it or throw it away like most people do it. I'm going to keep it in my collection, but I'm not going to watch it anymore because I dislike this movie. I hate this movie to death. I don't care. I hate this movie to death. This is abomination. It doesn't deserve to be called RoboCop 3. By the way, the acting from everyone is wooden and terrible in here, and RoboCop is a wooden bitch in here. This and RoboCop 2004 are both stinkers, and they both suck a dick. They both can kiss my ass because they're so terrible. I would say it's RoboGarbage. Originally, I wasn't planning to review this film, but I'm reviewing the film anyway. I love RoboCop, the original classic masterpiece movie to death. I love RoboCop 2. I'm a huge fan of RoboCop 2, and that movie is underrated. RoboCop 2 gets so much hate and crap, but this movie is better. I don't think so. I rewatched both the movies, so why not review the third garbage movie and finish the trilogy off? And I don't remember, I think I watched this film back in 2015 or 13. This is the first RoboCop movie that I got it. I would rather watch the first two because I prefer the first two movies over this one, And this is goddamn awful film. It's terrible, it's painful to watch. Do I think the Predator is better? No. I think this is better than the Predator 2008, because that movie was torture to watch. It had no soul. This movie has no soul, no heart, no adrenaline, no rush, no action, nothing, I hate this movie. I hate this goddamn awful movie, I don't want to break the disc or rip off the cover, so I refuse to watch it. I can't stand this movie. I hate it so much. It's painful to watch, so bad. This movie sucks. Fred Decker destroyed the franchise with a goddamn awful movie like this. They tried now for years to get RoboCop Returns. They tried to make a new sequel which is gonna fix it. I mean, how are they gonna fix it? The movie is PG-13 now, a family film. It's not violent. It's not a true sequel to RoboCop 2. It's not a futuristic film. It's not explain what happened in the events in the RoboCop 2. It's not a true sequel. It's their own fucking stand-alone movie. That's bad. It's not rated R. It's not bloody. It has lame action. The action sequences are awful. They're terrible executed. They are so terrible action sequences that I was laughing my ass off. Some guy, I think, said that I get why it gets the hate, but I like action. And get 7 out of 10. What action? The movie has really lame action. I will never say this movie. I will never see this movie. I will never say this movie is good or better than 2. Never this pile of shit, dog shit. Never. RoboCop 2 is a badass. Ultra-violent sci-fi action film. RoboCop 3 is a lame garbage. RoboCop 4, RoboCop remake is a disrespectful awful movie. Worse than this. The story makes it's a garbage. It makes no sense. The cast, Peter Weller, Daniel Herlihy, and Belinda Bauer are missing, and they're not in here. They do not return. They're not here. They do not return. I mean, it was terrible. The script is terrible. RoboCop is slow in this movie. They replace his gun, and he has mini machine gun on his hand. I don't know why. The little girl comes and she reprograms A209 and making him into loyal little puppy. I don't want A209 being a man's best friend and loyal as a puppy. A209 is the baddest robot, not a puppy. The two samurai ninjas in here and RoboCop gets his ass kicked. Yes, RoboCop did do nothing in here for me. RoboCop did nothing. In RoboCop 2, RoboCop jumps on back on monsters addicted robot RoboCop and rips his brain out, smashes into the ground to the pulp, and here he did nothing. The little girl had to save RoboCop from two samurai ninjas, in which they both kicked RoboCop's ass and they destroyed themselves. RoboCop didn't kill anyone. He flies the fly jetpack. I'm like, why? This movie is so bad, atrocious bad. Why people give this movie 10 out of 10? I don't get it. If you love this film, fine. I ask myself, how can someone love this film? Robert John Burke is not a RoboCop. Peter Weller is a RoboCop, not Robert John Burke. This movie gets better treatment than RoboCop 2. They killed They killed off Nancy whatever. Nancy Allen gets killed off. Our favorite character, Ann Lewis. Only reason Nancy Allen agreed to appear in this movie was because she wanted her character being killed off. Well, she disrespected the franchise, she disrespected the third film. If you think that this movie is great, you're wrong. It will be bad, especially if you're a fan of RoboCop. This was the end of the franchise. Until they rebooted the film and they make it worse, I have no words for this movie, but Nancy Allen shouldn't do that, This is very ridiculous move. But she did not care about us fans, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3 and this movie came out the same year and they both bombed, thank God. Robert John Burke is so terrible. They gun down his partner, he just stands there, do nothing. Anything bound, lame dialogues, really stupid movie, stupid idea. I hate this movie so much, I hate it. I don't care about people who love this film. Garbage sequel. They gun his partner and he just stands there. He doesn't do jack shit. Those people are actually standing there gunning his partner. He stands there instead doing something. Why he didn't do anything about this film? Why he didn't do anything, Robert John Burke? Why? It makes no sense. This is terrible. They were in desperate need, RoboCop 3 or whatever was terrible. It's just... It was so god awful, it was so terrible, RoboCop 3, it was terrible. It makes no sense, it was death of a franchise, it's a tragedy. I mean, it's trash, Why RoboCop is even flying with a flat jump, but that, you know what I mean, jetpack or whatever. Why is he flying? Or why that guy, the villain, when that villain, why he bursts his fucking legs and he flies away? Why he does not kill him? The guy killed his partner, he killed Ann Lewis and he instead kill him, he burns him. And then the building gets blown to pieces, Terrible effects, terrible effort of need of money. They make it in PG-13, but make a flop up, a joke, Even the explosions are terrible. I doubt that the real explosions. I think they used CGI, because in the 90s they were CGI. Watch Terminator 2 Judgment Day, that movie was a badass. This movie wasn't, This movie wasn't. It was a pile of junk. It was abomination. It wasn't that great. It just wasn't. Just terrible. This little girl was in this film and she ruined everything. I don't want to see a girl reprogramming A209 into a loyal puppy. This was terrible. It was terrible to watch. It was a satirical comedy now. It was a joke. I would say the franchise killer, RoboCop 3, the franchise killer. This is the worst sequel. The story makes no shit. Rip Torrance around this movie, I think, and the guy, McDaggett, was terrible. So RoboCop burns his leg and McDaggett stays in the fucking building and explodes. Oh, fucking movie, Fucking movie. This movie that I love to death. This is my movie. In the open scene, they blew up the building. The practical explosion. Whole building was exploding. Exploded. This movie. This is a motherfucking badass movie. This movie. They made better job in this movie than in this stinker movie. Better explosion in this movie. I would rather watch this movie because a better explosion. Now this movie gets hated. This movie gets hated, which I don't get it. But this movie is getting loved, which I don't get it. Why is this movie better than Demolition Man? Why is this movie better than Hard Target? But RoboCop 3 is better. Makes fun. They make a comedy. Just like they did the Predator. Fred Decker makes now comedies. He ruined Predator movies. Predators, they claimed that it was worse. I don't think so. I think the Predators was a decent, solid movie, and it had problems. This is a comedy. And like I said, RoboCop 2 wasn't that great. It wasn't that great. But RoboCop 3 was terrible. I would say RoboCop 2 was a decent sequel, in my opinion. Was a badass, ultra-violent sci-fi action film. It's not for kids, it's not for everyone. It's definitely for me, But because, the problem was with RoboCop, was universally the audience, who hated RoboCop 2 and critics. It was bombed, the sequel RoboCop 2 was bombed. And so because it stayed true to original, it didn't have the freshness, deep of heart, the first one. Yet the violent action, the dark satire was still there. The franchise still had potential, and I believe that with some effort there was still a chance for interest in next installments. Unfortunately, Orion, studio had financial problems. They were in financial crisis. So they decided to make the third sequel, RoboCop 3, as a family-friendly action movie, rated PG-13, in desperate attempts to gain as wide audience as it possible. RoboCop 3 was filmed in 1991, the same year that Terminator 2 Judgment Day came out, but it's not released until end of 1993, due to production company, Orion going bankrupt. They lost the money to go bankrupt. The result, a movie that is one of the worst movies ever, and finally nailed to the franchise coffin, This movie came out the same year, It was filmed, RoboCop 3 was filmed in 1991. And came out the same year as this movie. This movie is a badass. I would take this movie anytime. I love this movie to death. It had comedy, it had satire, but it had an action. It had explosion, badass action. Stallone with two guns, or Wesley Snipes with two guns, fighting Stallone. It had the tons of action, fight scenes. RoboCop 3 had nothing. It had nothing. I love Demolition Man to death. This movie, Hard Target, my favorite film for all time. It's definitely my personal favorite film. In 2015 was my favorite. It still is. It has tons of action. Van Damme grabs a shotgun, shots a motorcycle biker, and the motorcycle flies through the window. Practical explosion. He blows a truck, a van, to pieces. Practical explosion, The motorcycle chases, the action sequences, Or he grabs in Lance Henriksen, puts the grenade, says hunting season is over. That movie, this movie is miles way better. I love this movie, I love this movie. This movie I love. These two movies I love. These two movies I love. You see, these two movies I love. Hard Target, Demolition Man, those two movies I love. They came out this year, 1993. This garbage came out and it sucked. It sucked. And yeah, and definitely this movie nailed the franchise. Making a RoboCop 3 with a rating, PG-13 rating makes just as much sense as making porn movie with no sex at all. Maybe with some brief nudity, but here and there. It's totally missing the point, the original movie. It has no heart, no brains, slice social commentary, and no hard violence. RoboCop 3 became the very thing that the first two movies were often laughing at, and a political correct hero in a godless, soulless, and brainless Hollywood movie. To be honest, a PG-13 RoboCop 3 movie could work, The story has some potential and you can make exciting deep PG-13 action movie. The Dark Knight. The Expendables 3 got crap because it was PG-13, but so what? Die Hard Live Free or Die Hard was PG-13. Unrated isn't the version, but so what? I have the theatrical cut, but so what? I enjoy it. I love Live Free or Die Hard. Live Free or Die Hard kicks ass, this movie, And unfortunately, the whole movie seems to be aimed at kids and has a cartoon approach to it that just doesn't work. It amazes that this even is rated PG-13, not PG. Peter Weller made a wise decision. He made a wise decision not returning to the role of Robo and choosing Naked Lunch to do instead. I recommend to watch that movie instead of RoboCop 3. It may not be for everyone, but at least it's entertaining. Ryan tried to hire Michael Dudikoff, American Ninja, but ended with Robert Burke. I can't say anything else about him except that he was in this movie, and that for some reason the studio modified his voice so it sounds annoying. Dan Hurley, the old man from the first two films, does not appear in this film. The rest of the regular cast is back. Unfortunately, they don't have too much to do. RoboCop here is basically a zombie with no personality, He also disappears for a large part of the movie. The regular cast has very little screen time and awful dialogue to work with. The new characters are annoying, especially Nico, Kid Genius Hacker, the main villain, is not a bit interesting or menacing. The acting here is awful with people either underplaying or overplaying their parts, The story here takes some elements from what comic book writer Frank Miller prepared for RoboCop 2. Mind both RoboCop 2 and RoboCop 3 were heavily rewritten and have only elements from Miller's original script. The story here could work. Unfortunately, the screenplay is filled with cheap humor, predictability, and stupidity. I found a site on internet which points out that RoboCop 3 has faults in every scene. The direction of Fred Ecker is pathetic. It's pathetic. The pacing is lackluster. The action scenes are pathetic. The special effects are embarrassing, especially when you consider that the Jurassic Park was in theaters the same year. The movie deserves every bad comment it gets. There are no redeeming qualities to this junk. Under this movie, there were 2 lame TV shows and cartoon. The franchise was slaughtered. Slaughtered. It was terrible. RoboCop 3 ended on a terrible way. It was that junk shit. It was terrible. RoboCop 3 was terrible. If you ask me, it was terrible. Yeah. RoboCop 3, terrible. Junk shit, punch. I have no words for this stinker film anymore. But yeah. This movie fucking sucks. RoboCop 3, RoboCrap 3, RoboPilot shit 3, RoboJunk shit 3. This is not a true sequel. To me, RoboCop 1 and 2, they're only one. I'm not the only fan that's complaining about those films. But I think RoboCop 1 and 2, they're only one that exists. This is just a cash grab. It failed to be a good movie. It's junk. It does not deserve to be called a RoboCop at all. Fuck this piece of shit movie. I would rather watch this movie anytime, anywhere. I would rather watch Aliens or Hard Target, which I love to death. This is a badass movie. That's how we do it. Orion failed to do a good movie, or Demolition Man, Orion failed to do a good movie. It failed. And it was filmed the same year as Terminator 2 Judgment Day. I mean, fuck, there are so many good 90s action movies like Broken Arrow, Terminator 2 Judgment Day, Out for a Kill, no, Out for Justice, I'm sorry, Out for Justice. Out for a Kill is a terrible movie, but Out for Justice with Seagal, Mark for Dead came out the year, Hard to Kill. Under Siege is a badass action film, Die Hard 2, Die Hard with Vengeance, I love to death. Die Hard with Vengeance is a better sequel, better third sequel. There's so many better sequels in the 90s came out, better 90s action movies than RoboCop 3. Speed came out which is a badass action film. Sadly, Speed 2 sucked, but Speed, was a badass action film. Blade came out, the first one. It's so badass action film, which I reviewed Blade, I would rather watch Blade than this fucking junk movie. I will ever watch this movie again. This movie bombed. It failed. It failed to be a good one. So he has that machine gun on his fucking hand and he's shooting everyone. Does not hit anyone. Or some jackass shoots at Lewis and RoboCop catches the bullet like this. He holds like this. He catches bullet like this in front of Nancy Allen's head. You fucking kidding me? He shoots everyone, doesn't do jack shit. Why gun was replaced? Robin John Burke did do nothing in this movie. He was terrible as the lead character, as Jim Murphy RoboCop. This is a time waster. It's pile of shit. So they bring the music score from Bastille Polidares back. So the music score was supposed to save this film. It ruined it. In Desperate Ten, they made this a family film. I don't need a family film. I want an action film. A sci-fi, an ultra-violent film. This and Predator, the Predator 2018 are terrible movies. They fucking suck. They're terrible. They suck. This stinker sucks. This stinker sucks. RoboCop 3 sucks. Sucks RoboCop 3. Anyway, I am done with RoboCop 3. I'm done reviewing this garbage. I will never watch this film again. The Predator 2018 was torture to watch. This was the second torture, I would say. The second torture. Joke, comedy. Lame shit comedy. He got his ass kicked. He make fool out of himself. They make fool out of RoboCop. So yeah, thanks for watching. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I will review the remake next. But thanks so much again. Take care now, guys. Have a good one. Have a great day, everyone. Bye bye.